Welcome to Lookouts and Waterfalls in the Blue Mountains, episode 26, Let Our Videos Be Your Guide. In this episode, we visit Devil's Hole, Devil's Eye Arch, Boar's Head Rock, and two lookouts, all west of the scenic rollway off Cliff Drive in Katoomba. Hello and welcome. We're on Cliff Drive and about to walk the track to Devil's Hole. I hope we get there. On the way, or on the way back, we may see Devil's Eye Arch. We'll see that shortly. Next will be Boar's Head Rock for a top-down view. After that, we'll continue along Cliff Drive to Cahill's Lookout for a view of the Megalong Valley and a side view of Boar's Head Rock. Then we'll drive to Peckman's Lookout for more views of the Megalong Valley. And finally, we'll look for Verdi's Dell and Silver Spray Waterfall, and then take a look at Gracie's Hill.
We drove these roads to get to Devil's Hole track. We followed the M4 motorway from Sydney onto the Great Western Highway and we turned left into Bathurst Road, 1 kilometre west of Katoomba. This is a map of the roads we took to get to the walking track. If your vehicle has a trip meter, set it to 0 as you exit the highway. At 75 metres, turn right. At 220 metres, turn left into Valley Road. At 700 metres, Valley Road becomes Narrow Neck Road. At 2 kilometres, turn right onto Cliff Drive. At 2.2 kilometres, stop on the left at the Blue Mountain sign, opposite house number 239.
I'll provide GPS coordinates and a map of our trip at the end of this episode.
Well, off we go. Devil's Hole is a deep cleft in the escarpment between Boar's Head Rock and Narrow Neck. Its name is descriptive of its narrow walled, deep and dark cleft in the escarpment. Between 1892 and 1897, miners used this route as access to Katoomba from the Glen Shale mine in the Megalong Valley. An early name for the cleft was Blackfellas Ladder.
On Sunday the 21st of August 1932, a guide with a party of enthusiasts, insistent on going somewhere different, set out down the Devil's Hole. Halfway down, the guide struck off to the left, along the steep talus below the cliffs of First Narrow Neck. The party found themselves on a wide and well-made pathway that had not been used for a long while. This path led to the foot of Dixon's Ladder, where the old steel cables and broken wooden rungs of a once famous ladder lay in a twisted heap at the bottom of the cliff. To discover anything on Dixon's Ladder, we must go back to 1908, when on 28th of July, the Daily Telegraph reported that the dangerous rope ladder, rope is a miner's term for cable, known as Dixon's Ladder, down the side of Narrow Neck at Katoomba, and over the edge of which it was reported that someone had fallen during the week, had been cut away to prevent any reoccurrence of the danger of accidents in this locality. Then in 1923, for a second time, Dixon's ladder was demolished by the council for safety reasons. This information came as a shock to the scores of people who risked the ladder to avoid the extra distance it would take to get to and from Megalong. Many believe council's action was justified, but the trip by Nellie's Glen was considered a strained walk, while the Devil's Hole was too risky, too rough to be seriously considered. 9 years went by until in 1932 Alderman Sopper declared that Dixon's Ladder was probably one of the best known landmarks around the mountains, and requested that the council take steps to have the ladder repaired and replaced in position. 5 years after that, in January of 1937, the Katoomba Council declared that insufficient funds were available to re-erect Dixon's Ladder. Jumping forward to 1961, the New South Wales Water Board constructed a pipe into the Megalong Valley to a pump house on Narrowneck, where once Dixon's Ladder stood. This was a part of Stage 3 of the Fish River Water Supply Scheme, started in 1943. A 40-kilometre long pipeline was constructed to connect Oberon Dam to the Cascade Dams at Katoomba, and a tunnel was built under the Great Dividing Range at Hampton, so that water could be supplied by gravity from Oberon to Katoomba. The steel pipe from the Megalong Valley to the Narrowneck pump house climbs 250 metres and contains a section which includes a 30-metre vertical pipe attached to the rock face. The pressure in the pipe is notable, as it is the highest pressure in any water supply pipeline in Australia. This is obviously a watercourse when it's raining.
When it's raining, yeah. You want to go right down there? No, you can have it. I don't know. Oh, the helicopter will be able to winch you out.
Stay where you were. Get me coming back up. But turn your walkie-talkie on.
What are you saying to me?
I said to stay where you were and just get me coming back up.
Okay, let me know.
Will do. This area is rich in Aboriginal legend. One such story, published in the early 1900s in multiple newspapers, told of the Yahoo, or rock dog. There were hardly any rock dogs left in Katoomba then, but there was one. He sat up in a hole in a rock on the side of Devil's Hole all day, watching the people go up and down. He was a horrible beast, as large as a calf and very strong, of a yellow colour, with a head like a dog, and very fond of human flesh. The traveller may have heard a weird rustling away up on the rock, or saw a stone drop, as if from nowhere, or caught the glint from a fiery eyeball, as the dog moved around in his lair. But they never saw him, for it was only at night that he prowled about, then attack and carry off for food the person who was foolish enough to try and get through the hole after dark. The only thing that served anybody at all was that he would not eat white people, only blacks, and the blacks would not go through the Devil's Hole at night. Such is the legend of the rock dog.
In this dappled light, I can only pick up, with everything that's moving, the trees, and it's hard to pick up yourself that is also moving. We'll next try to locate Devil's Eye Arch. It is close by, located a little to the west, approximately 150 metres down from Cliff Drive. The opening of this arch is 2 metres high and 3 metres wide. The cave ledge beyond this arch is flat floored and extends for about 10 metres.
A feature within this arch looks like the skeletal remains of a rather long 5-fingered hand, now called the poker hand. The arch was named by Eric Halbert from the Sydney Speleological Society. That looks to be very steep. Not as steep as I thought it was. There's certainly a rock here. Pan up, you can see there's definitely a outcrop here. You can see narrow neck. There's a rock formation just there, very gnarly, and a bit of volcanic activity on there. You can see the swirling molten rock at some stage. There's a cave looking thing way over on that knoll down there, but would that be it? I was hoping it was just here, not way down there. Get back on the trail, and it keeps going down. There's people in over here. And it's certainly a bit of a cave. And if you come around, you can see part of Narrow Neck and the mountains. Oh. There's a hole. Look at that. You think that's it? Of course, there's no sign. I can get up on this ledge here. Hello? Hello? Bit of an echo. Nice little ledge here. Let's have a look around the place. There's some gnarly rocks around here. Oh, this could be the view. If someone was standing here, this is a photograph of Devil's Eye Arch taken by Ask Roz.
Our next stop is Boar's Head Rock, further along Cliff Drive on the escarpment. The Boar's Head Rock is located at the end of a short 150 metre track over the edge of the road. Like Devil's Hole track entrance, it has little parking for 2 or 3 vehicles. There is no sign except for a finger post to indicate the beginning of the track. The view from the rock is spectacular, as is that from the roadside.
Boar's Head climbing area, Coulton. Oh look, we've got steps to go to the climbing area. We do really lay it on for the climbers, don't we?
Yeah.
Boar's Head Rock is said to be a perfect representation of the head of a great boar. The beetling snout, the salvering jaws, and the curved tusks. Its shape highlights the strange variances of nature. We'll see an excellent view of the Boar's Head when we reach our next location. Other names for the rock have been Boar's Head Point and Boar's Rock. As far back as 1894, newspapers were reporting on the rock. Returning from the neck of land in the direction of the rollway, Boar's Head Point, a curiously shaped massive rock, is passed to the left, and further on Gracie's Hill to the right, where the latter portions of the Jamison Valley can be seen. Narrow Neck. From Gracie's Hill, a track to the left leads across some swampy land to Verdi's Dell, a beautiful spot, the central feature of which is a fairy-like cascade fancifully designated the Silver Spray Waterfall. Boar's Head Rock gained the attention of the Commonwealth Shale Oil and Coke Company in 1910, when engineers found 2 distinct seams of first-class coal in the valley below the rock. The top seam they considered to be a continuation of the Lithgow seam, and measured between 1 and 1.5 metres in thickness. But the days were numbered for mining in the Jamison and Megalong valleys, when cheap American kerosene refined from crude oil undersold local kerosene refined from kerosene shale. The world price of shale and coal made a major decline, and along with the fact that the shale was running out, major mining operations ceased. The Katoomba coal mine was closed in 1903 and the mining equipment was dismantled. The top of Boar's Head Rock, which we'll see from the lookout when we get over to Cahill's. Mining operated intermittently in the 1920s and 1930s, to close finally as a consequence of the depression and the shutdown of the Katoomba powerhouse. The Boar's Head Rock, it appears, never felt the tremble of the explosives below.
Our next location is Cahill's Lookout, that includes the view of Boar's Head Rock that Graham mentioned earlier. This lookout, between Boar's Head Rock and Peckman's Lookout, has three sections, one of which is Boar's Head Lookout, with signage in a new fenced area. The second and third are Cahill's Lookout, overlooking the Meglong Valley and Nellie's Glen. Cahill's Lookout was named after John Joseph Cahill, 1891 to 1959, Premier of New South Wales from 1952 to 1959. Lookout was constructed by the Blue Mountain City Council and opened to the public on the 6th of June 1959. Bushfires in November 2014 destroyed the safety railings and timber steps.
What we see today is the result of a major $80,000 upgrade that was completed by the Council in November of 2016. But why did it take until 1959 for the Council to first build this lookout? It was in 1936, during a meeting of the Katoomba Council on the future of Narrowneck, that Section B on a map published by the Katoomba Daily indicated that the area around Cahill's Lookout was not under the management of the Council. It was argued that areas such as Section B, North Katoomba and the Mount Hay, Lockley Pylon Highlands were a better option for the Council to manage than Narrowneck. It was stated that most of the west front cliff edge from Section B to the railway was neither developed nor easily accessible, and except for an improved outlook above Nellie's Glen, the ordinary tourist knew nothing of the area. Now this one says Boar's Head Lookout. So we've got Boar's Head Lookout, and then if you look up, you'll see, looking up, there's the Boar's Head. Still looking more like a dog, but...
Oh, right, isn't that awesome?
Looks like his head's sort of toppling over to the other side.
Isn't that absolutely awesome?
And then we're on the Meglong Valley side now, and there's the other side of Narrowneck, so you can see how wide it is in the middle there.
Yes.
It's really wide, but right here, right behind Boar's Head, is where the first narrow is. By the end of 1936, that soon changed with the construction of Cliff Drive. The Katoomba Daily was reporting, "The drive winds through virgin timber, skirting a deep gully from the Nellie's Glen area, then following the main cliff frontage to a high point slightly west of Devil's Hole. The view from this point is unexcelled and possibly is the most extensive panorama on the mountains, giving to the motorist an entirely new angle on the Narrowneck Peninsula and the two great valleys which it divides." The high point west of Devil's Hole was still unnamed. By March of 1937, lack of finance necessitated the elimination of the scenic loop, which was to traverse the cliff frontage in the unfamiliar area west of Devil's Hole. So we're left with the naming of Cahill's Lookout in 1959 as the first occurrence of a lookout west of Devil's Hole, when the Council took over the management of Section B. Can't read it with the camera. And again we see the Megalong Valley, the narrow neck to the east, and we see the Jamison Valley no more. It's lost in the haze. Now over here, there's our next episode will be fun, and we'll be walking down the 6-foot track.
Walking down?
Yep, a part of it. Just along the top to North Lookout. Yeah. A lot of gnarly rocks around here. Let's have a look. Look at some gnarly rocks. That's pretty gnarly. Whatever rocks they are, they're harder than the ironstone and have not eroded away. Look at that gnarly.
Ah, that's the sorting cap.
That's the what?
The sorting cap.
The sorting cap.
Yeah, I've got to take a photograph. Here, I'll just see.
You reckon that's a sorting cap?
Yeah, that's the sorting cap. Our next destination is Peckman's Lookout, not far from here. That is unknown to many people. It is situated on Peckman's Plateau, so it is also known as Peckman's Plateau Lookout. The lookout overlooks Nellie's Glen and into the Megalong Valley. Peckman's Plateau. Oh.
Peckman's Plateau. Henry Peckman, 1846 to 1934, called Harry by his friends, drove wagons and coaches between Hartley and Mount Victoria in the 1860s. He moved to Katoomba in 1884, where he drove visitors to the local sites. In 1892, he married Emily Sarah McAvaney, and with his brother John began the first daily coach service from Katoomba to the Jenolan Caves. Henry Peckman, along with his son, cleared a section of the plateau for a picnic area prior to 1930. The area was re-established in June 1970 with no mention of Gracie's Hill, Verdi's Dell or the Silver Spray Waterfall. So after Peckman's Lookout, as an extra feature, we're going to try and find Verdi's Dell and the Silver Spray Waterfall. Gracie's Hill is a part of a housing development, but we'll take a quick look at that too. And this is where Peckman started to pick his way down with his cementing. All down here, which has lasted the test of time. All original stuff. Now we'll go from here, just showing the fence line, the old fence. Nellie's Glen over there, and the Silver Spray waterfall just out of our sight. Now here we are, this is the picnic tables that Peckman built.
Yeah. These are the original stone, I think.
They've been replaced, yeah. I can see all these women coming down in their long skirts, sitting on these hard tables and looking out over here and admiring the megalong. There's another view of the tables there, or the chairs there, and the old Peckman tables that have been refurbished. The central rocks is this, probably the original. That's Peckman's concrete. There you go. Down Peckman's picnic area.
There are 4 places around the top of Verdi's Dell that might harbour a well-constructed path down into it, similar to the handmade one we saw to Peckham's Lookout. A well-made path like the section of the plateau cleared for a picnic area by Henry Peckman. But it has been 100 years since Henry Peckman opened up the area to tourists, and housing developments west of Narrow Neck Road today are likely to obscure any such path.
We stopped on Cliff Drive at the place marked 1 and found it highly overgrown with a high drop-off that we could not photograph, as signage suggested we could be trespassing. The next place, number 2, on the corner of Cliff Drive and Clive Street, was an easement between 2 houses, planned originally to extend Clive Street to the north. The easement ended at the top of a small semicircular cliff line, too dangerous for us to descend. The cliff was beyond the property line of the houses and is worth investigating further, as the cliff leads straight into the valley and that appeared to be relatively flat.
Clive Street.
Place number 3 was the other end of Clive Street to the north, off Nelson Road.
They've got the nerve to call this a street.
This is the northern end. What presented here was a cleared area along a property boundary. We followed it until we determined that it was not an ancient walking track, although we found a few old iron stakes marking something from the past. The 4th place we examined was a cleared space off Nelson Road. When we reached the bottom of the clearing, it was obvious that there was no way into Verdi's Dell from there. Never before had we seen scrub so thick that a cat would have trouble getting through.
Finally, we stopped at Narrow Neck Road to visit Gracie's Hill.
It actually says Grace Hill Lodge. Grace Hill Lodge. Interesting. Doesn't say Gracie's Hill.
This prominence is 1,040 metres above sea level and once had a commanding 360-degree view. It is not as high as Cyclorama Point at 1,066 metres. You can watch episode 25 for that.
After walking through old stone gateposts marked Grace Hill Lodge, we spoke to a resident living in a house on top of the hill in amongst a partially completed housing development. The resident knew nothing of Gracie's Hill and could offer no information on the area. We used our walk back through the property to examine the driveway and witness a huge pile of dirt and rocks, obviously excavated a long time ago to level the ground for foundations. Ironically, this made Gracie's Hill 3 metres higher. We visited 6 places today. Devil's Hole, we tried to find Devil's Eye Arch, we looked at the view from the top of the Boar's Head Rock, we went to Carl's Lookout, where there's a Boar's Head Rock lookout, we went to Peckman's Lookout and tried to find a way into Verdi's Dell, and we visited Gracie's Hill. You can do all that in one day, but take your time and enjoy the outdoors, the sunshine, the fresh air, the wonderful vistas, but stay safe by familiarising yourself with our safety instructions at the end of this episode.
In our next episode, we visit Verdi's Lookout. We walk a section of the 6-foot track on our way to North's Lookout, and then we try and find a track to an unnamed lookout on Radiator Plateau. Till then, bye.
Thanks for watching. Bye. Whatever way you discover the Blue Mountains, we want you to have a safe and enjoyable experience. Whether you drive, catch public transport, or cycle to the destinations we visit here, some walking is necessary. The walks are usually short, but can contrast greatly, so you need to be aware of the risks. Have a safe and enjoyable sightseeing experience at these lookouts and waterfalls. Don't forget to subscribe and click the notification bell to be alerted when next we visit the Blue Mountains.